The
Business
Oddcast.
Hello and welcome to another Business Oddcast. I'm your host, Stuart Morrison, and this is my equally fabulous co-host,
Hannah Logan. Hi. Hello.
Hello. So it's a whole new month. It's March, and we've got a whole new topic. So, Hannah Logan, what are you doing in March?
Well, when I'm not stuffing my face with chocolate, which, to be fair, I do all year round, but in March, Easter time, it's forgiven.
Just as much chocolate.
Jesus says you're allowed to.
Does he?
Yeah. And the Easter Bunny and all of that stuff. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's March. It's a new week. What is the topic of the week?
Topic of the week.
No, I'm not going to say it's a good one. I always bloody say that. It's a rubbish one this week.
It's terrible. Bottom of the barrel.
This is really, we just got desperate. We didn't even care. We just made one up.
And they say that the neurodiverse can't do sarcasm. Well,
I can. I'm the most sarcastic person I know.
I was going to say, you're just not dry enough if you don't get ND sarcasm.
Superb. Right. So this week we are doing, the topic is running on empty, how ND energy actually works. So, we're just having a deep dive into the neurodiverse energy bucket, or searching around in that bucket for it.
Ploughing through the trauma.
There's going to be some crying, Stuart, this episode.
I think of it as like panning for gold, except for instead of water, you're sifting through the trauma, looking for the nugget.
Looking for a spoon.
Yes.
You're sifting spoons.
Crying, eating chocolate and sifting spoons.
Second can of Diet Coke. Come on, where are you?
Brain, start, for Christ's sake. I've got a Zoom call in 2 minutes.
I need you.
Well, yes, that sounds like a great topic. Do you want to give us an overview before we dive into the trauma?
Yep. So, overview, it is kind of, well, we've said this before, haven't we? But I think most advice about energy assumes, advice about energy assumes that you wake up every day with the same energy or same capacity, same motivation and resilience. And that's not us, is it, Stuart, basically?
Well, no.
I mean, it's like, some days I can do a week's worth of work and general braining stuff. I might have got to the end of the day and think, oh God, I haven't eaten, gone for a wee, done anything other than staring at my screen, and then I feel like I need to get lie in a dark room for a few weeks. And then other days I send an email and cry, have another cream eggs. So same person, same life, capacity, completely different. So this episode really is about reframing energy, not as a kind of personal failing. We're not crap because we don't have consistent energy. And it's not a productivity issue, but it's more a kind of fluctuating system, or it's completely a fluctuating system for us.
It's a little bit like solar power. Sometimes the sun's out, sometimes it's away. Sometimes your battery's charged up, sometimes it isn't.
100% that. Yes, I like that. You've got the best analogies. So we're going to have a look about, we're going to have a deep dive into sort of understanding more about energy and what it's trying to tell us and how we can manage that better and all of that.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, no, that is definitely a topic which I'm very familiar with.
You can relate, can you, Stu?
Oh, well, we'll get into the details, but the way I actually think about it is a little bit like an energy budget. And if you spend too long in the overdrawn part of your energy budget, you're going to get compound negative interest, and it's going to be a doom spiral. And I've been there. I've done that. So anyway, we'll get into it, and we'll look at the topics surrounding this month's main topic and this particular topic this week.
So, the first point I'd like to raise, Your Honour. Oh my
Yes.
God, it felt like I was in court. I've never been in court. I've managed to dodge that. I'm just.
Have you not?
At Pimpernel.
Oh, it's fun. It really is. I'll leave that there. I'll tease that for another time.
That's such a teaser. So, ND energy was never meant to be consistent. So it's not that we had consistent energy and we're just a bit shit because it isn't consistent anymore. It was never meant to be. You know, our energy fluctuates because our brain processes the world differently. So inconsistency, as we've said, is not failure. It's a feature of how we operate.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I absolutely 100%. It's not like just a linear delivery.
No.
Like, imagine you've got parcels on a shelf, like on a moving conveyor belt, and the parcels are spaced equally, and each one of those parcels represents a quantity of work you can do. Mine's more like unexpected item in the baggage area. Could you just go and get the supervisor? We got reject. Oh, and then the line backs up. You know, you've seen those videos where it all sort of piles off the end, and the guy, you know, standing there, just a big pile of things, just constantly.
All of Stu's energy.
Just piling up, just like oh. So
God.
yeah, so that consistent delivery over the years, I have learned that if I try to do that, and the biggest thing for me, and I don't know why it took me so long to vocalize my thinking around this, but I think actually Gary Vaynerchuk has got a lot to answer for.
Oh, who is this Gary guy?
So
I should know this probably.
Anybody who's been into business growth, he was an Alex Hormozy, or rather, Alex Hormozy is a Gary Vaynerchuk lookalike. Alike. I know that's horribly dismissive of both of their skill sets, and Gary's worked at it. You know, he practices what he preaches. I get it, but. And this is the problem I have with the entire self-help industry, not just Gary or whatever. It's you have to hustle, you have to apply yourself, you have to keep going, you have to do 18-hour days, you have to grind. And I have tried it, and it didn't end well. It didn't end well mentally or physically, and that kind of breaks you spiritually. What about yourself? You know, how's your approach to your working life?
Well, I tried exactly the same thing, and it broke me spiritually and
It does.
physically, mentally, and I think I used to get a strange pleasure from the idea that I was constantly at it. You know, like constantly hustling and. I mean, I said this to you earlier today. I worked in a lot of sales roles before I moved more into the kind of stuff that I'm doing now. And I loved it. I was good at it. But there was that kind of KPIs and hitting your targets. And although there's a lot of dopamine in there, there's also a lot of pressure to just keep going and long days and
ignore the pain.
And ignore the pain. And actually... I got to a point in life where, especially when my kids became part of my life and stuff, I got to a point where I didn't have all of my energy, my fluctuating energy to put into that, because real life also needs energy. And, you know, everything in our life needs energy, and it needs different bits of energy. So yeah, trying to hustle something when you are inconsistent with your energy is I don't think it's a good, I hate the hustle culture.
I've got one example, which doesn't matter how much you want to say no, you know, energy is energy, blah 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 blah. If that's the case, if we all use our energy exactly the same, when you look at sports, you have different people doing different sports who excel, and their body shapes and their physiognomy and their musculature and their flexibility is determined by the practice of their sport. And I'm sorry, but somebody who is a great wrestler, like powerful, a great wrestler, is going to make a lousy sprinter. Might do a fair fist of it, but they're not going to be Usain Bolt. You know, they're not going to be Eliud. And I'd like to see Eliud Kipchoge, the marathon, absolutely extraordinary marathon world record holder, go head to head with Usain Bolt in the 100 meters. I'm not saying he wouldn't give it a fair fist, but then
They're
I'd like to
phone in now, aren't they?
then I'd like to see Eliud Kipchoge race Usain Bolt over a marathon. But that just goes to show you that different people have different abilities and different not just physical abilities, but their ability to sustain over a long period or a short period, intense or, or otherwise energy requirements. So why we would approach it that all brains, therefore, are exactly the same and require all of the same inputs to give all of the same outputs, it baffles me. It genuinely, it's like, why start from that position when the evidence in front of you, just go and stand outside your front door and look at the human race in all its unwashed glory. There's all sorts of shapes and sizes and just, you look at it and you think to yourself, why would you think all the insides would be uniform and the abilities contained within each one of these various different specimens? It baffles me.
It is. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So that sort of brings me into the second point, which is energy is not the same as time. Now, that might sound like, well, duh, but the point to it is that energy-based planning and time-based planning are entirely different approaches, because a time-based planning ignores the fact that your energy might show up lumpy. You might turn up on a day where you have to be your best self and you've got no plan B and you're just not there for it. And that's what I mean, is it breaks you spiritually, because you're just constantly showing up disappointing yourself, let alone everybody else. Because I'm sure you're like me. If you disappoint yourself, there isn't anything worse than that.
No, I can't. Quick tangent.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I've messed up on something, and someone is being beautiful and saying, "Please, Hannah, you mustn't worry about this. It's not a big deal." Blah blah blah. That's not okay for me, because actually it's my own judgment that I need to deal with, and that's incredibly difficult. So that's the real problem for me. Like you said, it's not about kind of other people, And
it doesn't matter how much shame, because that's the usual pressure point, the shame of like, oh, why didn't you plan your time better? And it's like, no, the correct question here is, why didn't I plan my energy better? And you've got a point. I should have put this deadline off for a week to give myself the necessary wriggle room to get that done, or have provision in place to have someone else do it for me.
You've taught me, Stuart, that, and it's a massive game changer, you've taught me the buffer time, and I just used to cram everything into my diary, like, okay, I've got a networking thing in the morning, that's fine, I can do another one in the evening, the same day, and just back to back, just feeling like you were just banging your head on a wall. And don't get me wrong, all those events have been fabulous, but I was not allowing any recouping time, or even, now I'm a work in progress for sure, but now if I've got a day of a lot of peopling, then the next day I'm just working from home. It's going to be quiet. I'm going to work through some projects that I find easy. It's that buffering, isn't it? And you taught me that. Before that, I was just cram as much as you can in. Try not to die. Try not to cry. I always cry.
Hold on for dear life. Yeah. Well, you see, that's why you end up with energy debt, is because you're constantly trying to apply the same load to a lumpy cash flow. Well, it is. It comes and it goes. And some days you come in with your best will in the world and you sit for 9 hours and you smash it out. You go, I am on fire. And then other days you do 4 hours and you think to yourself, my brain is not into this. I have learned. So there was a study done. I think it was New York taxi drivers. It might have been London taxi drivers. It's immaterial. But they did this study. And what they looked at was how taxi drivers could be more efficient with their earnings. And so they looked at various different taxi drivers and they gave them different sort of models, rules to run by. And what they found was this: if you're having a bad day and there doesn't seem to be many fares about, quit, stop that moment, because you will be burning fuel and time, which is inefficient, and you won't be maximising your time to make the most money with it. So go and do something else. On a day where it just seems like everywhere you turn there's a customer that you can stop, just keep going. Spend longer on that day because it is a more fruitful spend of your time. And what they found was, over time, if you took the approach of what you might think of as the hot hand approach, I I'm so good at the moment, so good today that I can't
fire, Stuart.
Yeah, fuego. I can't do no wrong. Stick at it. Maybe do an extra 2 or 3 hours, but on the days that you're not very good, quit whilst you're ahead.
That is literally what I do, Stuart. Like on a day where I was on fire yesterday working on a website, I just cracked on. I was like, okay, this girl's unstoppable. I'm on this magnificent roller coaster. And actually, I feel okay today because it was the kind of work that was so easy for my brain that it didn't feel like it was sucking me dry, like, leaving me like a little husk of my former self. But then other days I'm like the cab drivers. I'm like, nope, I've tried. I've started on something. It's not sticking. Try something else. Okay, today's not happening.
Yeah.
Watch some Netflix. Come back tomorrow.
It's a perfect valid response, as long as you say to yourself and you give your permission to yourself to not sit on the sofa with what I call all brakes and no gas. In other words, you're pressing so hard on the brake and not doing anything that you're just like so tense because you haven't planned for this downtime, and you're just in your head going, I'm wasting my time. You really do have to forgive yourself for your physiology.
Yeah. I'm getting there, but there was a time where I couldn't. Like we have a thing in our house. I can't have a bath. That's not before you back off. I have. I'm very capable of having a shower.
No,
I am clean. Everybody listening and watching, don't worry.
Can confirm.
I won't have a bath because I see them, even now, my reformed self. I see them as a waste of my time because they're so static. Even then I'll try and read a book in a bath, but that pisses me off because I think I'm going to drop it in there. So within, the amount of times over the years my husband's like, run me up, like, have a bath, honey. My muscles are sore. And I get in and we try and they time me. And within a minute I'm like, no, I'm out. And it makes me angry. I get out the bath and I've got the rage. I'm like, what a waste of my time just lying in my own water. So yeah, sorry. Bit angry bath. For any plumbers out there and bath fitters, I'm really sorry. Don't. Baths are great for some people.
The way I sort of think about it, this again, the way I model the world is so weird. Is anybody who knows anything about computers knows that once you charge your computer up with doing lots and lots of processes, it slows down. Doesn't matter how speedy your computer is. If you start doing lots and lots of background things like doing a search and doing an indexing and doing a backup and uploading something and doing some video editing, that cursor, it starts to feel like it's you're rowing through syrup, And it's like that for me, it's like that. So I think of it as the UOS, my operating system. If my background processes have a lot going on, and at the moment I've got quite a lot of projects going on, I know that I have to be very intentional with my use of energy, working energy, so that I can get through this quite hectic period and get to the other side of it with myself intact. So if you've got a lot of background processes going on, say you've got a tax return to do, done mine.
Yes, win.
Ka-ching. Tax return going on, or you've got maybe a client brief that's ticking along in your subconscious, and then you add to that some cognitive load from your family. And it's this cumulative effect of the cognitive load going up, which determines for me whether or not I'm able to be present for the work that I'm doing, because I can't then sit down. I've got 3 or 4 things going around in my head and then go, oh, why don't I start a whole new marketing campaign? That's just a one too many tabs
Thanks,
opening.
brain.
Yeah, thanks. But it's monitoring that and knowing that, hang on a minute, you've just put your hand up to do this, volunteer to do that, to take on this role or to do that job or accept this piece of work. When exactly does your energy level top back up so that you'll be able to do it?
Yeah.
So it's having hit the wall a lot. You have to recognise that this isn't bad luck.
No.
This isn't bad planning. This is your brain going, this way of doing these things just simply doesn't work.
Yeah.
Please change. And being kind to yourself about it. Like I said, you can't help your physiognomy. It's baked in, so...
I like the way I'm baked.
I like my
Extra
ingredients.
spice chucked in there and a few ingredients you wouldn't imagine adding in, and yet they make something magnificent.
Have you ever had Coca-Cola chicken?
Yes.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like you don't expect it to be as good as it is, but
shouldn't
it's
work,
awesome.
but it does.
That's how I like to think of my working life. I shouldn't work, but I do.
Stu is like Coca-Cola chicken. He's better than Coca-Cola chicken. Do you know what? So I'm going to confess here.
Go on.
They're not as frequent now, but there was a time not that long ago where I would have at least a monthly meltdown. My family now understand that I would properly have a kind of, the end is nigh, I can't do this, I need to go and, find an island somewhere and nobody talk to me ever again. And there's lots of tears and woe is me and hand wringing. And my kids and my husband have now learned just to stand back. They don't even stand back and watch anymore because they know that I come to the end of it in about an hour and then I'm back in the room normal. It's just really bizarre. But I need that. And like you said, I think there's so much background noise, cognitive load, that at some point my brain short circuits and turns on all the tears and all the stress and all the it's never going to work and how am I going to cope, and it is like a kind of volcano of chaos. But in fact I'm not okay now. I won't lie about that. A good couple of hours of just chilling out on my own afterwards, and then I'm back in the room. But I need it's like a short circuit where everything's like no, it's flicked the switch, all the lights have gone off, all the chaos has turned on, and
I call it a brownout.
What?
Well, so there's a thing called a blackout where the lights go out.
Yeah.
Where a brownout is where they flicker and you might get partial power and there could be chaos.
Lots of chaos.
Lots
so
of
much chaos. Oh wow!
Things
I
don't
like
operate
that.
correctly.
And all the shout, everything's a bit louder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In my mouth. Oh my gosh.
It'll stay a brownout until you have an emotional shit.
I love that.
It's exactly how I think of it. It's like, I got that out. That's good. Don't beat myself up,
That's what it is. It literally is an emotional shit.
It's-
If anybody's just come on and is listening, they're like, what? Hannah and Stuart are mental. They're talking about poo again. Sorry, everybody, but it is. It's so accurate.
It's freeing.
It's so accurate.
Just
oh my gosh.
Go and lie down for a couple of hours. Come back in the room. Sorry, everyone, you had to witness that. A grown man stamping his feet and gnashing his teeth.
Wailing.
Yeah. Dad's fine now.
Yeah. Dad's not so crazy anymore.
No, he still is.
Oh yeah, Dad's all the crazy, but he's not showing it so readily.
He's got the lid on the tin of snakes. Sometimes you have to take the lid off, then whee, and all the snakes come out. Then you stuff them back in and put the lid back on. Carry on.
The weirdest thing is, oh my gosh, so sometimes I would just appear in the doorway of the living room and have my kind of, it would just anybody that was the cat, if the cat was watching, I'm like, you furry bastard, you're not helping. And then my husband would be like, oh God. And I'd be like, and you never do this and you never do. And then my daughter who's the most incredible human, I'd be like, and what about that you never do? And she would just look bemused. And my son, he's luckily most likely hiding in his room at that point. But then I'd go back to the kitchen, chill out for a bit and then just reappear like, hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Sorry about the crazy and the snakes coming out.
Yeah.
So that, now that we've convinced everybody that Hannah's a bit
confessed.
mentally deranged, it's interesting to look at the kind of hidden energy drains that a lot of neurotypical people would have no clue about. Because most people don't see them, right? So for us guys, we spend energy on stuff that others don't have to think about.
And a lot of the time, just to step in, a lot of the time, we're doing this and trying to hide it from everybody.
Yeah.
So this is going on whilst we're in Tesco's, whilst we're driving along the road, whilst we're having a rational conversation with another human. But I know what you're going to say, and I'm just going to say, imagine what Hannah's going to say, but instead of you're able to let it out, you have to keep a socially acceptable mask on top of it, because else everybody else will think you're a bit weird.
They do already, Stu. Newsflash. I think everyone's decided that on by about episode 3. But that's what they love about us, right? That is what you guys love
Thanks
about
for
us.
watching, guys, listening,
I mean,
tuning in.
I was at a fantastic networking thing on Friday, as were you, from the FSB and SiGNAL, SiGNAL Biz Hub.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys. And I was in a group of maybe 3 other women, and I was talking to one of them, or one of them was talking to all of us. And my brain wasn't just like, this lady's talking, let's listen. I was like, I like her hair. I wonder where she got her glasses from. Then there's somebody talking next to me and I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? And then there's somebody at the front saying, in a minute, we're all going to sit down. And I'm like, oh, where will I sit? Do I have my bag with me? My brain has got 20 tabs open when I'm just literally, all I'm being asked to do is listen to the lady that's talking. But my brain's got all those tabs open, and that is draining energy that nobody would imagine.
Yeah,
well, you would imagine that people listening get it, but yeah.
No, it's the lights. It's the lights in the empty rooms. Like, you're just sat there and you'd think, oh, you're just looking at that, and you're like, there's somebody coming in through the door. What's the person doing outside the window? Where's that tractor going? Why is there a deer over there? What's that on the wall? Is that? Oh, let me read that. And then you realise 5 seconds later that you have not paid attention, and everybody's looking at you because somebody's asked you a question, and you're staring off into space like some kind of space cadet. There's my life right there.
It's so true, isn't it? Somebody the other day asked me the most basic of questions. I think they were like, can you put that on the website? And my brain was like, and I had to filter this, right? Because otherwise they're going to think, oh, bloody hell, Hannah's rubbish. I was like, in my brain, I was like, which website? You know, I have control of about 6. So which website? When do you want it on? Do you want it on exactly as it is? Or does it need to be changed to go on? So many questions. And that is what my brain is doing. I've got 10 things I need to ask you about that, what they've deemed as a really simple piece of information. But to me, that's there's no brief there. There's no brief.
You know when people say I'm a details person? I want them to form a queue with all the other people who are a details person, and I'll be the judge of it. Show me an example of your work. Give me 3 examples of why this represents you being a details person. Put it in a spreadsheet and score it 1 to 10 so I can make a statistical comparison.
Also, what about decisions? I was talking to my son about this earlier. Decisions for a lot of us are almost impossible. And the more that you push me to make one, the more that my PDA is like, nope. So making decisions takes up, and the reason I'm saying this, making a basic decision for me is a massive drain of my energy. It's not just yes or no or maybe. It's like, but I don't quite understand the parameters of that, so I need more. Oh, it's exhausting.
Oh, any form that has a yes or no answer, I will get stuck on.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, what I would like is a committee of neurodivergent individuals to sit down and redesign all of the questions on all of the websites where they're deciding whether or not you are neurodiverse or not. Because, quite frankly, they're appalling. There's a lovely lady I follow on Instagram, and she was talking about this the other day. I've forgotten who she is. I can't remember. I'll put a link below to her. Hello to the lovely lady. She's always on it, doing ADHD stuff, and she shows her fits and does all the stuff, and has made some really interesting comments recently, especially about going through the process of an ADHD assessment and the forms that she has to fill out and the multiple parts of it. Just make it simpler, or give us. What I want is the top-down version. I want you to tell me what each section is going to achieve, what your overall goal. I hate second-guessing it. And in actual fact, and I'm going to lift the lid on something, right? I have passed exams without any, and I mean any revision, based on the fact that I can pattern match the multiple guess questions with the most likely answer.
Nice.
There'll definitely be an outlier. There'll be a distracting one, which will be, it's very similar, but you can logic it. Usually
Trying
you can
to trip you up.
Yeah, just trying to trip you up with like a common misunderstanding. They're usually quite obvious. And then you're usually left between two. And you've got a 50-50 chance at that point. And I have passed a few exams like that. Sorry, examiners. Sorry, teachers.
They're going to come round and take your GCSE certificates back.
I have to confess, I'm too old for GCSEs. They might come round and take my CSEs.
Oh, yeah, or your O-levels. Were you O-levels?
I was O-levels, yeah.
Nice.
I have done an A-level.
They're going to take them back now that you've announced this live.
Yeah,
on
that's
our
it. I'll be
podcast.
cancelled. The CSEs will reconvene.
Set fire to your CV.
My level, my B in geography.
Yeah, that's gone. That's gone, mate. Now you've got an E.
Sorry, CSEs.
I cheated. No, you didn't cheat, though.
No, I logicked
You just
it.
applied some really awesome logic to it, which is a better skill, really, than remembering about frickin' precipitation or whatever rubbish we were taught in geography. Rain clouds. Sorry.
I think for me, it's too many options. You give me too many options, and my brain's like, I've got to compare A to B, A to C, A to D, A to E, A to F, B to C, B to D, B to... And you just end up in this recursive kind of like, but what if, but what if, but what if?
I remember one of the questions on one of the many different ND forms I've had to fill out over the years, and it said, did you play alone as a child? And I thought, sometimes.
Sometimes.
But I also didn't. And even that is not a question that you can say yes or no, because they want me to say yes, I was a loner, I was like a massive autist. Well, I was sometimes, and clearly I am a massive autist, but also I wasn't. So what a ridiculous question. That question alone took me like 20 minutes. And I did make notes. I think I filled out yes sometimes and then put loads of brackets. Like,
oh yes, I made a list of all my answers and my reasoning in a spreadsheet.
They were just like, yeah, we've got one, Dave.
But you see, they could shortcut and save the NHS so much time. All they've got to do is add one more option to every single question, which is sometimes give example.
Yeah.
And I would argue that 99% of the people who are neurodiverse would tick sometimes and then give you chapter and verse as to why the concept for the actual question was wrong, let alone answering the question. But if you insist, here's some answers.
And the thing is, yeah, I guess, there's no denying that I was the kid at school that was like, you're getting to 1 minute before break time and the teacher says, does anybody else have any questions? And I'm like, and everyone's like, oh, bloody hell.
Oh, we're going to be here for an hour.
And I'd be like, you outlined the homework for next week, Mrs. whatever her name is, but you didn't actually say X, Y, and Z. And you can see everyone just like, I'm going to kill her at break time. But actually, the level of detail that I work to in my brain and I work at when I'm doing work is awesome. And yeah, but it hurts me more than it hurts you if you have to listen to me asking a question at the end of a lesson. Because I'm having to process all that. All you've got to do is open your ears for a little bit. But yeah, I'm never making any apologies for the level of detail that I give because it's immense.
No, I had this conversation with my daughter on reflection after one of our previous episodes about overthinking versus underthinking. And she was of the opinion that most of her colleagues underthink.
Yes, she is a wise young lady.
I said, yeah, absolutely. But then, I mean, she's in my sphere of influence. I think I want to give some examples of why pushing through works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
And here are some examples, I think, of the warning signs that you're heading towards some kind of burnout, brownout, overwhelm. You're going to get dysregulated. There's something red on the dashboard that's flashing that you're ignoring.
Limp mode is coming in.
Turtle mode. It's turtle mode. We talked about that. And the first thing is the adrenaline trap. The power of the sparkly new and fresh. You are completely wiped, and then you get that email bing, we'd like you to do a little bit of work. Oh, I can do that. That's me. You've identified that I can do work. And your brain suddenly goes, right, I need to go and deep dive. And then you look and you read and you go, what do they mean by that word? Why did they choose that word? Let me go and... And before you know it, 2 hours have passed and it's 9 o'clock at night and you're thinking, oh shit, I should have been sat on the sofa. And you arrive on the sofa with so few spoons that you're non-verbal, or
You're just dribbling.
Gemma has said things to me before, and I've turned to her and she said, "I'll talk to you when you're here."
I'll talk to you next week when you're awake again.
And my uncle gave me a term, and we use this term now. If you go and stay at my uncle's, you might walk into a room and he'll just be sat on the sofa, just sort of staring into the middle distance. And you'll start talking to him and he'll just say, "I'm absent."
Oh my gosh. Your uncle's a genius.
Game changer.
I'm absent like 90% of the time, Stu.
Game changer. And we use it in the house. Like, if we can't talk, I'm absent. Like, even if I'm present physically,
The lights are on, but no one's
you can't
inside.
talk to me. Yesterday, Gemma came in to have a conversation with me in the office, and I had 3 things going on and a Zoom call that I was meant to go on, and my brain was just like, add it to the queue, because if you ask me to answer that now, I've got to literally put my 3 juggling balls down, turn, focus my cone of attention on you, process that, and at that point, what was I doing? Where are the balls?
Name? Where's the Zoom link? Yeah, chaos.
Exactly. The other one is that people mistake urgency for capacity. So the urgency comes in, check your capacity. And I mean that genuinely, like any business would. And don't forget, this is the Business Oddcast. You have to assess your capacity to undertake the task at hand and be genuinely honest with yourself of, am I going to do this? Or can I take some time to do this? What do I need to do to negotiate this? How do you approach that when the new shiny sparkly lands and suddenly your capacity is on 5%, but new shiny project?
Well, Stuart, I'm really crap at that. I am improving though with time. I think I'm very, very dopamine driven. I'm very kind of, ping new email like, oh, could you help me with that? I'm like, yes, but I'm getting better at looking at my capacity. And actually I was teaching my daughter the other day, which I think is, again, something you've taught me, the ability to, if somebody asks her a question, she kind of panics and she doesn't really know, especially if it's a work-related thing. And I said, and I'm pretty sure you taught me this, I said to her, it's totally acceptable to say, can you leave that with me? Because I'd like to mull it over.
100%. Leave the room.
People like that. I think people quite like, if you're just... So what happened basically was that she said yes, committed in panic, oh yeah, okay, I can do whatever it was. I can't remember.
People pleasing.
Massive people pleasing situation. And then she's like, having days of, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't agreed to that. And, overwhelmed and she's one of us, and she was feeling the pressure and annoyed at herself because why did I say yes? And that's when I said to her, I'm learning, and you've taught me, actually, you know what? Just say, I'd like to have give me a couple of hours to think about that, or can I let you know in the morning, or whatever it is. Give yourself that time, because we can be impulsive, we can be shiny thing driven, and also, if I get a shiny thing come into my inbox and I want to do it, then I am learning not to say, yeah, I'll have that back to you in 2 days. I'm learning to say, I'd love to do that. I'm really interested, but actually I don't have capacity this week or next week. I could get to this in maybe 10 days and see what they say.
Let me introduce the listeners to the concept of the red rope.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
It's like every day's a school day. I love Stuart stuff.
You need to put a red rope around your time, because that does 2 things. 1, it respects yourself. So you are honouring your commitment to respect your own energy and check in with your capacity. 2, it sounds so much more professional to say, can I check my diary and a few commitments before I come back to you? Because it means that I'm going to respect my time when it comes to you. I'm not just jumping in. I'm not just putting you at the head of the queue. And this is where the red rope comes in. So there was a guy who was launching a nightclub in New York City, and he wanted to make it the hottest place in town. So what he did was, for 2 weeks beforehand, he put the music on in the nightclub, turned the music up, put the bouncers outside and put a red rope and paid actors to stand in a queue and create demand that was visible on the street. Well, of course, he also used to pay celebrities to get out of their car on the way somewhere, walk into the club, through the club, and the car would meet him out the back and they would continue. And he'd pay them a significant amount of money just to be seen walking in and packed going into his club. Anyway, launches 2 weeks later, massive success. The point to it is scarcity breeds value. So if you say to somebody, I'm ready to do your work right here, right now, who would employ a builder that could come round in the next 5 minutes versus a builder which says to you, I'm going to have to book you in next month now. But you know their work is top notch. There's also that, you know, their work is going to deliver what you need. And that's the approach I have. So when a customer comes to me and says, can you do this? If it's a good customer and they've got lots of time spent with us and we've got a good relationship, some of my customers, 20 years or more, then of course, you know, I'm as honest as they come. You know, we're a bit busy today. Can we squeeze this in tomorrow? Fine, fantastic. But if I get a new customer that comes to me and says we need a new website to be built, irregardless of where we are in our production schedule, well, let's have a meeting next week, because that immediately says I'm in control of my time this week. And I'm never free. Okay, the word free never comes into it. I'm available. Free denotes I have no value. And just a little psychological thing. And again, you know, if you want to book next week, I can accommodate you then. You know, you're being flexible. You're offering them whatever they want, but next week. And then in that meeting, like our production schedule usually is 30 to 90 days, depending on the size of project that we're working on. But that can't be delivered immediately. You don't have infinite capacity, and you're a fool if you think that you do. It doesn't matter whether it's lumpy capacity or genuine smooth delivery by your team. Point to it is you have a specific capacity. Unless you value your time, don't expect anybody else. So I have a red rope. If somebody phones me that I don't know about, I don't answer. But Stuart, what about sales? Yeah. Yeah. But
Come back.
anybody I have worked with over the last 20 years who's come rushing to me with a demand that they need me to give them all my attention immediately and unreservedly because they've got the best thing since sliced bread, well, I'm really sorry. We have complete capacity and we can't help you. Just, you know, I'm not, unless it's a customer I already know and have worked with and understand, you know, how they treat people and I've worked well with them. The amount of times I've taken on a short project, a short deadline project, because somebody has come running to me with their hair on fire, and then it's burnt me out, and then you don't get any thanks, and they're so price sensitive that the next time you charge them to do anything, again, they throw their hands in the air and march off. way too many experiences of that. Hello, you. I'm looking at you.
You know who
You
you are.
know who you are. So this is the list of things which are going to identify, and do jump in if any of these resonate.
It's literally my list. I think I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'll let you.
Well, we could take them in order if you want.
No. What I mean is, you know, I'm going to be like, yes.
And I wrote this in about 5 minutes flat. This wasn't research. This was just my genuine lived experience. So here we go. Early warning signs we're taught to ignore. Okay, or we've conditioned ourselves to ignore. Using sugar for energy and a dopamine hit.
Is that wrong, Stuart?
4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 biscuits and 2 Reese's chocolate cups.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Way too many examples of me having a nice sugar crash at about 6 o'clock. Sleep on the sofa. Insomnia, but not always, but sometimes it can be a flag that the brain's like, I think of it like this. You've got your car in top gear, you're doing 100 miles an hour, the wheels are spinning, but it's up on a jack. You know, you're going nowhere, but your brain's going, and that just leads to the insomnia. You know, list of list of list of list. The tightening spiral of tasks where you're adding another one and another one and another one. This usually has come from a people-pleasing perspective of like, oh, they'll be disappointed in me. Oh, just imagine that. Instead of a complete and utter brownout for about 3 weeks, somebody's disappointed in you. Oh, sure they'll get over it. You can see how my attitude has formulated over the years.
Be more like Stuart. That's the message here.
Never catching up. Your to-do list somehow, despite all of your processes and your own efficiency, you end the day with more on the list than you had when you started. Okay, guaranteed that is a one-way door to the downhill slope. Being unable to say no and mean no. Full stop. End of sentence. Would you like me to say it again? What part of no do you not understand? Is no not a sufficient answer for you? Well, I can't help you beyond no. Saying sorry a lot. No, sorry. No. Full stop. End of sentence. Red rope. The sorry is not my inability to service you just because you knock on my door. That would be on you. Don't engage with the drama. No. Then silence and watch them. Their brain just skip a beat. Like it's like one of those ratchets going backwards. Going, what? I'm expecting more begging and crying. And the anxiety hamster in the wheel. Oh. If I say no, they won't like me. If they won't like me, then that's going to be like every other time I've been rejected by anybody for being a bit weird and for holding on to my own power and being empowered. And this, I've seen this a lot with certain relationships. I'm not going to lay it at the door of anyone in particular, but that constant gnawing, I'm letting my partner down. And the horrible part about it is the partner using that to manipulate the person to get what they want. It's a horrible codependency and it's very toxic. There's a couple of people I just want to take to one side and go, you do realise you'd be happier not married. Just genuinely be, you're decent people, but you're not making each other happy. And guess what? The kids are a little distressed by it. Anyway, I'm not here for marriage guidance, but just
not
saying.
Tonight. Today.
It's especially difficult when one of them is definitely neurotypical and the other one is spicy AF. Feeling like you've always forgotten something, and often like waking up feeling like, oh, there was something I was supposed to do. And sometimes it's real and sometimes it's imagined, but it's just there lurking, and that's kind of a hangover of the anxiety thing. Drifting off when others are talking more than usual.
I was going to say, that's my whole life. But more than normal. Yeah,
more than normal, you know. I have those moments where you're listening, you suddenly realise you haven't heard anything for a good 2 or 3 minutes because you've been thinking about the buttons on their T-shirt. Why have they got buttons on a T-shirt? They're quite interesting. That's quite interesting. What could you put buttons on? They're brown buttons, but it's a black T-shirt. Why didn't they use black buttons on a black T-shirt or contrast them with a white? What? Hang on, my name's been mentioned. What have I missed? Yeah. Drifting off when others are talking, said that. Focusing on any task is draining, like lifting a 50-pound weight with your mind. So literally the act of focusing is like the thought of running a marathon. Just to even think about the answer to the question is way more than you can carry because you're carrying so much already. I get this. The flinching stress tics. I tick quite badly sometimes, and sometimes vocalise as well. Now, you could say that that's very Tourette-y, and it is because it's completely involuntary. And at my worst, when I was going through my major burnout in my mid-20s, I threw yogurt across the aisle in Asda. I literally and it was like I was given an electric shock, and the yogurt flew out of my hand and just went everywhere in the aisle.
You just walked away.
I didn't know. I had to go and get someone to clear it up, and I dropped it. Sorry.
There's a lunatic in aisle 4, Claire. Can you go and?
yeah, Claire, go and get the broom. Go and push him out the door. Irritable, short fuse, and quick to frustration. And 9 times out of 10, it's with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of times I've been so angry at myself that I have to say to Gemma, "It's not you, it's me." and genuinely mean that I've got so in my head about whatever it is, plus whatever it is, and then they've asked you a question, and you're not angry for them asking the question. It's perfectly reasonable. Would you like something to eat or a cup of tea? No!
Shut up. Stop being nice.
Not right now. That's my big one. Not right now. And Gemma's like, okay. And the tone
I
can
just
be...
do a hand. I've learnt to just do a hand. Like somebody will walk into the room that I'm in and they'll just start talking and I'll just go... It's just like, stop.
Walking into the room and just start talking. Oh, that's me. That's me all the time. But I hate that.
Me too. I'm such a hypocrite. I'm like, I can do it. You can't.
Yeah, special
The
privilege. Because if I don't get it out, I'll forget it, and then we'll be stuffed.
And then we'll cry.
Emotional cobbles. The emotional cobbles. You know the emotional cobbles. So you're driving along with your partner, and everything seems fine, and then suddenly you hit some Belgian parve, as you might refer to it, and suddenly it's like, and you're trying to have a conversation, and the emotions are like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I'm not feeling quite right, and I don't know how to regulate this, and this is going to take a little while to get over, so just stick with me, but don't ask me a question and turn the radio off. You know what we're talking about. Yeah. I'm trying to find a parking space. Panicking for no reason.
Oh yeah, this is a big one for me.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about an anxiety attack or a panic attack. Those are very distinct. Panicking, like suddenly just going, holy fuck, what happens if the bank closes tomorrow and never opens again? How am I going to get all my money out?
Completely irrational kind of.
Not based on any, not even a real thing. It's like waking up and going, oh, it'd be really terrible to have to take your kids to the hospital. Why did you think that? Oh, I'm going to be thinking that all day.
It's really random stuff.
The jumping at small noises or having an irrational, like if somebody sneezes when I'm like wound up or depleted of capacity, no energy, and somebody sneezes, I'm like, would you just, how? And I do not excuse myself from the sneezing. That's I can sneeze and be utterly enraged at my own. Why would you make that stupid noise, Bonnie?
To your own sneeze.
My own sneezes, yeah.
I've done that too. I'm like, shut up. Stop making that noise.
Naught to fully enraged of like, what the Jesus, man. I know, ridiculous. I know. I'm lifting the lid. Brownouts we talked about.
Yeah, they were good.
And the other one is having the incorrect emotional response to the input.
Oh, yeah.
Really sorry, Fluffykins died. Sorry.
Oh my God,
my condolences.
Because I don't even know why that happens, but I can recognise that.
It's just like you can't. Your brain goes to pin it in the, I'm really sorry for your troubles, condolences or whatever. But somehow it gets distracted by the clown with the balloons pulling the funny face.
But also my brain goes to, like, if they're like, oh, it's really sad, we had to have our cat put down the other day. My brain goes to, how did it die? I don't mean obviously it died because it got put down, but my brain's like, what was wrong with it? Did it get run over a bit and it was a bit dead? I need to know that stuff, but I can't ask.
Details matter.
Really creepy. So I just have to say, oh, sorry. But I'm annoyed because I need the detail. I need the...
Or the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really upset my cat died. And?
Yeah. So what?
Can we get on with the meeting?
Move on, get another one.
Burning sunlight. Can we just, TikTok? Sorry about Fluffykins. If that's what you need. But yeah, you see, all of these are symptoms of something isn't right with what's going on, either inside you or externally, and you need to, right size the effort to the capacity.
Yep. Right. Well,
thank you for bearing with me through that trauma dump.
That was immense, but that entire list was literally my everyday. And I was going, oh, I need to look into that a bit more. I didn't realise that list was literally all the red lights on the dashboard that I need to be working out why they're coming on.
Your car needs a service.
Time to take Hannah in for an MOT. Oh gosh, that ship has sailed years ago. So yeah, that leads us on to the guilt loop. So I think a lot of us, and certainly I can only talk for myself, but this is definitely the case for me. I often already feel that I'm not good enough is a classic, isn't it, for us lot? But more a kind of, I'm already like 80% of your average person. I don't really believe that, but this is the kind of insecure part talking. You know, I'm thinking I'm already not very good, so I can't have rest because rest feels unsafe to me, because then it's like, you're not doing well enough anyway, Hannah, and now you're taking some time off as well.
Yeah, if your 80% is your 100, sorry, if somebody else's 80% is your 100%, no matter how hard you try, if you're not doing 100%, you're not keeping up with the 80% that they're putting in. But you see, that way that's where the madness comes. They've still got 20%. You're running on fumes just to keep up with what?
You're like a one-man band. You got cymbals on your elbows. You got your knees going. You're trying to like nod your head for the triangle. It's just chaos.
Exactly that. And you're not making a pleasant tune, by the way, either.
And it's just chaos coming out of you. Oh my gosh! But can you imagine like triangles? Oh my god! So I suppose, I mean, you've said this. We've both said this before. We see rest is framed as a reward in society, right? You know, you've done something, why don't you go and have a cuppa and a biscuit? You've earned it. All that kind of.
Going on holiday.
Yes, you've earned.
It's a reward.
I fell out quite badly with somebody on Facebook because they were like, booked my holiday, we deserve it. And I replied, doesn't everybody deserve the chance just to rest and whatever that looks like for them? Because it was a bit kind of, the underlying message was, we've worked harder, so we deserve a holiday, and we're going to show you all about it on Facebook just to piss those of you off that can't go on holiday.
Do you know the best way around that? Especially if it's a frenemy. No.
It is a frenemy.
Yeah, we deserve it. No, you don't.
You're idiots. You're the least deserving people.
It's not hair shampoo.
You're not worth it. You are not worth it. Not you listeners, by the way. Just the frenemy that we won't out. In fact, I don't even have a particular one in mind. There's a lot of idiots on Facebook. And I'm too much of a people pleaser to remove them. But actually, you know, Stuart said this before, the rest is not the reward. The rest is the preparation to do the work for people like us, right? So we shouldn't think of it as, I don't deserve rest yet because I've got to push on and, you know, burn myself out to a crisp. Actually, where we've talked about buffer days and allowing, you know, if you're doing something and you know it's going to zap all of your final spoons, all of your energy, then, you know, the following day you need to have planned in as little as possible, or just the things that you can do easily that don't burn you out and zap everything you've got.
Move it on there with the energy thing, because that's for me the key. Once I'd figured out how to manage my energy and how to create a sustainable life with lumpy energy flow and sometimes no energy, like for a couple of weeks, just flat, just like, oh my God, this is never coming back. It's never changing. This is the new normal. You have to have some rules in place, some prep in place, some processes in place. But it can be done. And especially with modern life, you know, as soon as the internet arrived, and I'm talking very early adopter, one of the first 500 people in the UK with a cable modem.
Check you out with your internet.
NTL World. They came round and they'd had a handbird disc with my drivers on it. I mean, you know, talk about ground zero. But once I'd worked out what energy debt looks like and eliminated it, I was able to better regulate. Now, at times that can be incredibly dull because people go, oh, we're going out on Saturday, do you want to come? And you look at your working week and you think to yourself, no, this week has used up all my spoons. I need my weekend to prepare for next week and recharge from last week. But the prep for next week is me doing nothing, not going out. I'll enjoy it. I'll have a high old time. I will burn myself out. And Sometimes, yeah, you might go, yeah, sod it, it's worth it. And you know that for the next at least 2 weekends, maybe even a month, you've got nothing more on your horizon, because that one night out will burn through everything you've got. And you just end up with this energy deficit that you're always chasing. And believe me, you know, that's how I ended up where I did in my mid-20s. Burnout isn't sudden. You don't suddenly wake up one morning and you burn out. All of the instances where I have, and I'd like to think that they get less and less, and I know my future still holds some, but it's acknowledging that they're there and they've arrived, and that actually you need to take time to recover, because mine ended in hospital on at least one occasion. And then that just requires even further for you to come back. You know, it's like getting to the end of a marathon and trying to run another marathon, and then you collapse after five minutes, and you think to yourself, oh no, that's a silly decision. I've now got twice as long to recover. But it's that compound interests of the overwhelm that you start to get overwhelmed, and then you get more overwhelmed, and then you get more behind, and then the anxiety loops round, and then and then you run through the list of things that I've given you, and they just build and build and build, and it's like building a brick wall in front of you that eventually collapses on top of you, and you have to get out from under. And the higher it is, the longer it takes for you to get out from under. And just what I've experienced. Just take it from me, folks. It's not fun.
We've burnt ourselves out specifically so we. Well,
you've had your experiences, absolutely.
So we're just doing this for our listeners so that you never have to. But actually, the reality is, you know, we've been talking about the signs to try as you can to avoid a sort of full-on burnout, and recognizing those early signals. And Stuart sort of gave us a really good list of all the different things that, you know, and I was nodding and I was joking. Well, I wasn't joking, it was real, but yeah, I was nodding along to that list thinking, oh, Hannah, okay, actually. So, and because I know myself enough, I was already aware that there's a few, not even work things, there's just a few things going on in my brain that I need to kind of take off that little list before they become, you know, before they start singing the catastrophe song. Because it's always something really irrelevant. Like, you know, I've heard my husband say something on the phone, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, that means... And then I go and check with him a few weeks later, and he's like, oh no, that was about somebody at work. So it's just like the kind of catastrophe song has already done all full verses before I've like... Oh,
the orchestra's got
They're
going.
literally tuned up and like, you know, terrible. Let's talk about withdrawal. You know, I know we've both talked about this before, but that kind of irritability, brain fog, shutdown, and then, you know, climbing into your cave.
Oh, yeah.
You've been in the cave.
Bear in the cave, yeah. So this saying, this is the saying, warning, when bear in cave, do not get long stick and poke bear, otherwise stick bearer will be struck by the stick by a crying bear. Warning on the outside of the cave. Do not poke bear with long stick. And that's what people do. You go into your cave, and it's self-preservation at this point. You're not. It's like, it really isn't you. It's me, and I need to do this. Otherwise, just leave me alone. And then they come and they go, "Are you all right?" No, not at all.
You won't be soon if you don't fuck off and leave me alone. Do you want anything? Yes, I want you to go as far away as possible. Stop asking me.
You're so locked into your own cave. It's the only way I can explain it.
It's a really good way to explain. And you know, in our house, I just say I'm hibernating, but I'll which is the same thing, right? You know, if I go upstairs, well, I'm always upstairs. That's where I kind of hang out. I'm basically in a constant state of hibernation. But some of that is health reasons as well, but which exacerbate all of that. But yeah, I'll just say, guys, I'm not being antisocial. I'm cool. I'm happy, but I am hibernating this evening. So like, unless you really need me, then just leave me with, you know, 15 series of Criminal Minds. But then that's another example. So that is my hibernation, is to fixate on something on telly or whatever. But I can be quite, I get locked into that world. And then if somebody starts to try and interrupt when I'm in an episode, I get really mean. I know you won't believe that, Stuart, because I'm so amazing and never mean. But I can be like really, really mean. But I always, because I'm not inherently mean, I'll be kind of like, oh, shut up and go away. You've ruined it now. And then a second later, I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I said that. That was a really horrible thing to say.
I'll say something like that and Gemma will laugh at me. She'll just
That's the
find
best
it
way.
hilarious.
That is the best way,
It's like,
I
you're
reckon.
so angry. It's hilarious. And I know she's not laughing at me. She's laughing at the scenario, that she's asked a very minor question and distracted me for 1 second from some boring thing, which is probably got a lot of numbers and a spreadsheet attached. And what do you want? She'll start laughing. I'm just telling you your food's here. Oh, right. Thank you. Yes, that's why I'm angry.
I've just done a nice thing for you, Stuart.
Yes.
Sorry about.
Oh, yeah. Bear in cave. Don't poke bear with cave.
Oh, that's fabulous. So I suppose it's about kind of, you and I are both really self-aware of the way that we are around this stuff. And it sounds to me certainly like our partners, our better halves, maybe sometimes are aware too.
I think for me, the diagnosis kind of rubber stamped what was already happening in our house. We were already aware of the way we all are with each other, and there was no shame or judgment based on, if you're having a bad day, we love you. You're just having a bad day. We'll be here to help. What can we do? But giving the person it feels unnatural as a parent to withdraw from your child and let them sort themselves out. But what they need is calm and quiet and focus, not being told to confront their emotions on your timescale. No. Would you? If somebody walked up to the street, justify yourself. Why are you this way? Why are you dressed like that?
Tell me immediately.
And you go to walk away and they go, no, don't you walk away.
I remember a while ago now. So the other three people, my favourite people in my household, all process stuff completely differently to me. I'm a talker. I need to talk it out. I need to trauma dump on some random lady on the Tesco's till. And the other three members of the Logan household don't do that. They like to internalize it, not internalize it like pretend it's not there, but that's how they process stuff. And actually knowing that, and I know that really well now, has been brilliant, because actually I'm able to just be like, okay, that's the way they do that, and just respect that. It's not always my way.
It's trusting that they have the process, that they're going to come out the other side. And I think a lot of parents worry about that. But you see, I think a lot of the trauma could be eliminated by just taking the kids out of school.
Yes.
Just the trauma around trying to get a send placement. Just just it's not good for the family. Oh, guess what? Yeah, your neurodiverse child, which probably means your neurodiverse child, is in a high state of emotional dysregulation. We're going to ask you to fill out a lot of forms and prove that they're unhappy at school so that we can provide them with what they need. It just seems so backwards, because under the Disability Act, you can ask for accommodations at work without ever having to justify why you need that. As long as there are reasonable adjustments to allow you to continue with your job, you don't need to rock up and say, oh, here's my diagnosis for you to treat me like a human being. But kids do at school. Yeah, no, you can't have the ear defenders on. No, that's quite alien. Look at you.
You must suffer. Why aren't you suffering?
A man behind a podium in a sharp suit says that it's not natural. And God's looking, so, Just don't get me wound up. School, it's open prison for children.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Oh,
anyway, let's move along. We'll do education. You'll get your day. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
I'm staring at you, state education. Redefining the balance is the key to it. Accepting all of these limitations that we've thrown at you. And of course, your mileage may vary. You may have all of these, none of these, a variety of these, your own superset of these. This isn't prescriptive in any way, and it's not meant to make you feel bad. You're like, oh, I don't do that, but I do this. We're just giving examples from our lived experience. So this is no way comprehensive like medical. Just do not take medical advice from me. As I always say, I'm an unreliable witness at best. But you have to acknowledge your own lived experience, and it doesn't matter what the rest of society tells you. They are just ghosting you as to your own lived experience. Listen to the inner voice, because actually it will probably guide you in the right direction, unless you're a psychopath and a serial killer, in which case hand yourself in.
Don't listen.
Don't listen, hand yourself in. But that pacing part matters. Pacing matters rather than consistency. The fact that you keep going back and working at your own pace. Now, that's really tough when you've got a job and a boss and all the rest of it, which is why self-employment really works. But if you do have that experience and you have to take time out of an evening to not go and be on a committee, to not go and do the kids' football like you promised all the other parents, and not feel bad about it, because if you only have 80% and it's 100% of other people's, you're always going to be running a 20% deficit if you're trying to match yourself to other people. So that pacing really, really matters. And I've done a lot of running, and what I realised is you can only run your own race. There are always going to be faster runners than me. There's going to be younger people than me, basically. But there are people that are slower than me. And we're all running our own race. This is not the Olympics. This is, can I get the job done? And it might take, in my instance, a half marathon, 2.5 hours. That's not quick, but I'm out there for 2.5 hours. Somebody does it in an hour and a half. Have they spent half as much energy? Twice as much energy, or half as much energy? They've spent half the time, but did they expand twice the energy to do it? Or is it they're just exceptional runners and they've got a capacity for that? If I tried to run a half marathon in an hour and a half, I would not make it halfway round before collapsing. I wouldn't make it the first mile. I cannot run at that pace. So it's knowing your limitations and your restrictions, and understanding the rhythms. I know when I'm distracted. I will come into work, especially there's nothing worse than an appointment in the afternoon that I need to prepare for. I'll prepare for it, and then I'll spend all the rest of the day obsessing about this appointment to the point where it will distract me from the work that I need to do. Do you have anything like that? The golden thing on the
is just a flashing light throughout the day, and I'm like, yeah, brutal.
Absolutely. And that actually sustainable effort is the key to this, not matching stride for stride somebody else who's, it may be even doing the same thing, or this outcomes are going to be different if you have different tools to do the job. So it's a challenge, but committing to what you can actually do versus what Superman can do is that, well, because that's it. I'll start the day and go, right, this is example from this weekend. Going to build some shelves under the stairs. And I'm also going to build a rotating unit in front of that. And there are 2 other small DIY jobs, and I'm going to change the 2 handles upstairs, and I've got to fix the tap. Okay, and all I've done by the end of the weekend in 2 days, and that, by the way, was just 1 day's work. Going to have a rest on Sunday. Actually, the reality of it is I spent all weekend under the stairs. I got the shelves done.
The cupboard.
But in my head, I'm stressing about the fact that I'm not meeting the incredibly high bar, just impossibly high bar. I didn't have enough hours. But I've been a terrible judge of what I can achieve in a space-time. But conversely that's also been quite useful, because you'll be surprised at what you can get done when you challenge yourself. And the thing, and the final point I think I would make with this is that you need permission to adjust without self-judging, and we can be our own worst critics. The shit I say to myself in my downtime, in my off-peak, when I've made a mistake, the way I have to remind myself, if you spoke to a really good friend or a family member in that way, they'd have every right to be flaming angry with you. How dare you say that? I'm doing my best. And of course, no beating yourself up if you have to resort to plan B. And plan B might be, I have to stop right now. I can't carry on. That's perfectly acceptable, because what I find is when I continue to persist doing things where my energy is gone, my focus is gone, my attention is gone, I come back in the next day, I have to redo it anyway. Just it's taken me 3 hours to make a complete mess that I'm scrapping and going to do again, and I'll get done in an hour and a half. So might as well just leave the chair at the point where I'm like, this is going nowhere. Yeah, so if you're in running lights mode or low power mode, quit whilst you're ahead, because you're just going to be. And the worst part about it is, if I'm doing something physical, I'm much more likely to have an accident.
Yeah.
And just my focus wanders suddenly at the last critical moment, and I make a stupid error. I damage something, myself included. So yeah, low energy, blinking lights, stop. Go and do something else. Go and go fishing, or whatever.
Something nice and chill.
So, do we have any takeaways? We've been on a deep dive on this one. This is a
such a good
lengthy
topic.
episode, but I think it's quite worthwhile, because I think for me, if you are going to be self-employed and are neurodiverse, energy management is the absolute key to all of this, and acknowledging what your energy is and working on your energy budget as much as you are on your monetary fiscal budget is going to be the key to a long-term successful outcome.
Yeah.
What would you like to add? Come on, Nana.
My PDA's like, no.
You can have a sort of a run
No,
up.
you do it.
You do it. Yeah.
Takeaways. So yeah, our energy is variable by design, right? It's the way that we are. We're not defective. It's the way that we are. So we need to,
feature, not bug.
yeah, feature not bug. So we need to harness that, embrace that.
Absolutely, 100%.
Understand it. Also, you were talking about sort of energy and time are not interchangeable. Burning the candle at both ends. I've done that so many times. Oh my gosh, I've done that so many times. And it's not half time. If you're burning the candle at both ends, it's not half time, because for us, for NDs, it's much shorter, because we tend to start chipping away in the middle of the candle, getting the wick and trying to set fire to that too. We're just trying to burn the candle as much as possible from all angles.
Why is all this wax here when it could just be nothing but wick and have all of the fire?
And sometimes I think if I'm taking a deep dive and I can feel like all the engines are getting a bit hot, and but I'm I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, that is sometimes that you need to listen to that, because you are burning yourself. You've set fire to yourself, and you've got some kind of crazy laughter going on. But actually,
Absolutely,
you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit in the back of your brain going, "Oh, Hannah, the fallout from this is going to be
Calm down.
bad, so bad." I think, we've talked about pushing through as a short-term tool, not a lifestyle. We all hate, don't we? Gosh,
We've
talked
all
about hustle
used our
culture.
overdraft. But just don't go beyond your overdraft for too long.
No, because then you start getting fined, and it's just brutal. So yeah, hustle culture is toxic. I always get the rage about hustle culture, because I'm so bored of being told. Kind of not networking things, but just being told in general, like you got to do this, you got to,
I don't have to do anything I don't want to do.
Yeah,
I think you're fine.
whatever I like. Thank you very much. And also, the rest for us is maintenance. It's not a reward. It's the way that we prepare. It's like you were saying, sort of athletes prepare before they exert. They do all the the pasta loading and the stretching and all of the different bits and pieces that they need to do. It's not the thing you get at the end of it.
Nobody does the training after the event.
No.
It's a ridiculous approach.
And also looking at those, we've touched on it a lot, but looking at those burnout signals, it builds quietly. And if we notice, when we notice, and you and I think, are a lot more self-aware when we do notice, because sadly we've been there, haven't we, where we didn't notice.
Yeah.
And it's brutal, for everybody watching, and it's brutal for you to experience it. But actually noticing early makes a giant difference, and it really, really matters. And, cancelling is absolutely fine. Postponing is a very valid option. I've been doing that a lot. I've sort of had various things going on, and I've just been saying, and you know what? Every time when I've said I'm so sorry, can we push our meeting back to the following week? Every time people say, of course, absolutely. No one has said, what the hell, Hannah? In my brain, I'm like, they're going to hate me. Reality is like, of course, absolutely, no worries. Next week's cool. So not worrying about catastrophizing this stuff. Just put yourself first. It's that whole empty cup, isn't it? You can't pour from it. You've got to put your own mask on and all of that. There's a million different varieties of pouring from empty cups. And
well, I can reverse that. If you're holding a pint and you're a pint, you don't expect to hold a pint and a half. So why beat yourself up?
Yeah.
You're just going to end up. We're just going to end up with a load of water everywhere if you try. Just accept you're a pint. That's what you can do. I'm doing my best. Yep. Well, crack on. No shade. New phrase I've learned.
I love the word shade. It's so good. So have you got any extra tips or anything you need to add to?
Well, it's been very tip heavy, hasn't it? It's been
there's been a lot of tips in there.
Very. You should do this. You should do what works for you. Work out what works. But we're just saying is run too long with too little energy.
Yeah.
Don't expect good outcomes. If the same task is feeling harder than it did when you did it before, don't beat yourself up. Take that as a moment to go, ooh, is this the best time to be doing this? Can I look back over the last few days and see where my energy has leaked out? And acknowledging that the real world conditions have changed is just pragmatic. It's like going out into the weather and going, oh, it's freezing cold, but I'm not going to put a jumper on. It's like, you fool. It's just adjust to the pragmatic conditions in front of you. And I'm when I say you fool, I'm looking in the mirror.
Talking to himself.
Yeah, he's talking to himself. If you're running on adrenaline and that's all you're running on, then prepare to crash or adjust. But you need to rest before the work. This is an absolute fundamental key takeaway. Yes, after you've done something, you're going to be tired, fine. But also add in time to get prepared to rest for the thing that's coming up. So Saturday might be a day of rest. Sunday is a day of rest in preparation for the rest of the week.
So sometimes I get a bit unnecessarily irritable about this, but, it's a societal thing that people say, you've got a lot planned for the weekend. And I always want to say, yeah, I'm preparing for the week ahead. I'm literally doing nothing. I'm going to watch Netflix, do a bit of washing. But it's annoying because when they say that, I feel, and this is a me problem, right? Not theirs. But I feel in that moment like I should be like going to London and doing all but no, I'm not. It's preparation for me. It's recovery from the week on Saturday, and Sunday is preparation for the week ahead. So generally.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're feeling guilty having that rest, like you're having that conversation and somebody is saying to you, their implication is that somehow you're not sucking the marrow out of life and you're frankly letting the human the human existence down, and the human race is like arms crossed tutting. Because that's out in my head, You've just got to remind yourself that rest prevents burnouts. And that is wasted time. And in business, wasted time is going to mean that it's going to take you longer to progress, and you've missed opportunities in that time. So actually, taking time for yourself is not selfish. It's putting your own oxygen mask on first, so that you can do the things that you need to do to keep your family and you safe, secure, financially in the right place and progressing. If you're a bit foggy and you're a bit irritable, you're in an energy spiral. And that's not going to end well until you step in an intervention on yourself and go, I'm just going to put everything down and I'm just going to go and lie down. I'm just going to go and take time out. I'm just going to go and recover and then rest in preparation for a return. Because yes, you might have people that are dependent on you. They might have deadlines. I'm not saying just down tools and up sticks. But when you're self-employed, you get the chance to go, all right, I've got a deadline next Wednesday. Actually, I've got to have 2 or 3 days of what I call stock in the warehouse. My brain is empty. I need to be absent from the business. I'll set up my out of office. And do you know what? In all the years I've been doing this, I've not yet had somebody come to me. And I work with web development, so, you know, sometimes things need done quick. I've yet to have a customer lose faith and walk away because I was out of office. You know, they've walked away for other reasons, mostly because I've got a red rope around my time.
Because you're too good, too shiny.
Also, when you're planning your day, think of it like, what can I do today? Get all, if the answer is not very much, get all of the urgent, important, need to do, have to be done tasks done. That might be, well, go and listen to our episode on delegation.
Yeah, it's what you need.
It's what you do need. You need a bit of delegation and a process to make sure that the person, the customer, they're being handled no matter what happens. So you can answer a question or defer them to or use AI or whatever works for your instance. And I think this is the key takeaway. And I wrote this down and I firmly believe it because this is how I approach it. So if you're pushing anyway, you know, you're reaching, you're stretching, that's fine. Growth can occur in that way. But you've got to realise that there's going to be a price to pay for spending too long in an energy deficit. And you've got to choose to stop doing some things if you're focusing on other things. That's just the reality. And I tried to do it all. I tried to be in 3 plays, start a business, have a new relationship, and go to Edinburgh with a play that was having problems internally as well. And I wondered why I fell over, coupled with a lot of unresolved trauma from the past few years. And, you know, the blue touch, the blue touch paper had been lit months before, but finally it went bang because I didn't take any of the warning signs, and when I look back, the many warning signs, to look after myself, the human being, the animal that is existing. I put layer upon layer of pressure on myself, and that's not going to be good things. And so you've got to think of yourself like a power bank. The more things you plug in, the quicker you will drain. Okay, so if you're plugging more things in, you've got to start thinking about what you're going to unplug to preserve your energy. And you will need your energy if you're going to be like, okay, for the next 6 months, I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. I would suggest that's perhaps a bad course of action, but you do you. But there will be a deficit that will come payable or come due that you need to think about and budget for. And yeah, all right, you get through the 6 months, but don't then go, let's do it again. Oh, I did that all right for 6 months. I'm completely frazzled and I've had row every single day.
Everyone hates me.
Everyone hates me and I can't get anyone to return my call. But, you know, let's go again. So things like don't do the washing today. It doesn't matter. Do the washing tomorrow. I know that will catch up with you as well. But, you know, as your kids age, get them to do some of the chores, get them to join in. It's their house. You know, we got a house full of 4 adults. We all pitch in. I see the fact that I stopped being their caretaker at the age where they could go out and own a property themselves. And again, you know, your domestic situation may be different. Cut your cloth accordingly. This isn't a prescription for life. Please, please don't let this be a prescription for your life. I don't need that burden on me as well.
I don't want to be worried about your lives.
But the point I think that I would end on is listen to yourself. Listen to how you respond to the work that you're doing. Listen how your body is telling you when it needs to rest. Gauge it by your relationships. Ask, have a frank conversation with partners and friends. Look, am I a bit of an arse sometimes? Yeah. Can you just say to me, Stu, you've been a bit of an arse? I won't take it against you, but I need to know because I can't judge it because we've also got the social thing going on, right? So you're not quite sure. You're being really blunt and you're just thinking, oh, it's just because I'm tired. But the other person's thinking, why is he being such a twat? The fuck have I done to him? Jesus, man. But then they're doing the social thing of like, all right, okay, so Stuart's not having a good time. We'll put a smile on it and we'll get past it. But you need to know that. So having the right support network around you and in your relationships is an absolute game changer, total game changer. So, well, there we go. There's a lot to pick up from that, and
such a good one.
It is quite a good one, and it's quite a good topic, and it's one that I think you will get the sense that we've got a lot of experience with. So if you have got any feedback, any comments, any thoughts, send it to us, hosts@businessoddcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. There's lots of takeaways from that. Tell us what your biggest one was. Maybe you've got a hint or a tip that we missed, or an issue that you've got a question around. Fire it over. Let us know. Love to hear. Hannah, what's going on next week? Come on.
I love the build up to this. Well, next week, if you have crashed and burnt into burnout, and yeah, we've all been there. Next week, we're looking at what happens after burnout. So what recovery actually looks like for ND people, for our beautiful neurodiverse selves.
Okay.
So after burnout.
Oh, so we've got what leads to burnout, and next week we're going to tell you how to heal thyself.
Yeah.
If you've got any comments, please, like I said, send them through to us. Join us at businessoddcast.com. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and do all that good stuff. If you would like to be a host, send us an email. The email address is on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, or it's hosts@businessoddcast.com, and raise your hand and we'll send you a link to our guests form, and we are going to start thinking about getting some people on in 2026. It's taken a little while, but, you know, like we say, we've cut our cloth accordingly. We haven't run before we can walk. So it is important. Thank you very much for listening. And as always, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you. Step away from PAYE. Don't do it.